Hey guys, what is going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Today, I kind of had a concept video in mind that I wanted to make, right? Because True Boy recently released a video where he's shown off some new formations in the game, and some people were saying that these are the same formations of last year, but they're really not, right? There's different formations of different positions that are very, very important in the way that the game is going to be played. There's actually a new variation of the 4-1-2 and 2, which I believe is the 4-1-3-2, which actually has a center mid instead of a cam. So we're going to get into that. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I kind of have an idea of how I want to be playing FIFA next year in terms of the tactical setup. Because as you guys know, this year, a big reason why I actually didn't change my formation and tactics that often is because you only have a certain amount of pauses that you can use while you're playing. You can actually pause the game and switch some of the things in your team, right? So with this new dynamic tactic, you can just switch it on the go. If you guys can see with this picture right here, you just switch to ultra defensive, defensive attacking, or ultra attacking to basically just switch to a formation that you know or a tactic that you know is going to work best for what you're going to be doing against your opponent. So we'll be getting into those kind of things. But first off, I do want to show off the new formations and how cool they're going to be to set up in the game, because you'll be able to see all the new tactical things here with corners, free kicks, with defensive style, and so on and so forth. So we're going to be getting into all that, okay? So this is one of the new formations that a lot of people have been asking for a lot. So this is going to be a very good formation for me personally if I want to be attacking, right? So if I decide to get off of balanced and I want to switch to the attacking custom tactic in the game, this will be the best formation for it, right? Because this isn't necessarily an ultra attacking formation, because ultra attacking would be a three at the back formation, right? You can actually see that there's a new variation of the three at the back formation that has a CDM, two center mids, a left mid, right mid, and two strikers. This is a formation that a lot of people have been wanting for a long time because it would be a very nice formation to use in the game. So this would be more of a formation that would be worth using for the ultra attacking tactic. But like I said before, we're going to get into this. 4-2-4. This will be a very good formation to use attacking wise. The instructions, right, that you'll be seeing for things like left wing strikers and right wings, they haven't really introduced new instructions yet. They may in the future, but if we look into the regular version of Ultimate Team, right, the strikers have four different types of tactics, right? If we're going to be looking at the 4-2-4, you could set your formation in different ways, right? So because it's playing as a 4-2-4, you can actually ask one of your strikers to play like a cam, essentially, right, where you tell them to play. I'll show you guys the instruction right here. So instead, it's I believe it's the supporting runs. No, it's this one right here. So the attacking runs would be a false nine. So he would act more like a midfielder than an actual striker. So if you notice when you're playing with this formation, you can see that you don't really want the two strikers, but you want to have some sort of a cam presence and a striker presence. You can actually make one of your strikers a false nine so that he can play the midfield and his striker role really nicely. The other striker, you can keep it on balance to see what his movement will be like. It's all about like experimenting, right? You can keep him on balance, see what his movement is like. You can keep the left wing and the right wing on balance as well. Don't touch them to see like how it all kind of goes into play, right? So the way that I would set up this formation before I would even start is stay back while attacking for the fullbacks. The two center mids, I'd probably just tell them to stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box, and then I would tell the one striker to be a false nine, and then see how the team moves, because obviously everything conflicts each other in FIFA, right? So these tactics over here will also conflict each other, because you can tell that there is an offensive style, there's a defensive style. If you notice that someone is playing a high pressure game against you, you can use the long ball tactic where your players will make those crazy runs because the guy is really putting that pressure on you. So you can send a long ball so that you can open up the space for a little bit for yourself. You have the drop back one where your defensive players will drop back a little bit more, but then it'll also mean that the midfield won't be as congested, right? Since you have the offensive style to be set to long ball, it'll actually be a problem if you have drop back and long ball, right? So it's about knowing exactly what you want to do in the situation, right? Because right now, this formation, the balance in it wouldn't be that great. It would be okay because he is playing in a 4-2-3-1. I'm not sure which variation it is. It might be the central one. So it could be okay to play the long ball and drop back. But with the 4-1-2 and 2 being played by possession and drop back, this would be a more balanced formation, right? This is the type of stuff you'll know before even playing the game, because it just makes sense, right? If you play the long ball style, that means your players will make riskier runs. If they make riskier runs, that means that they will be out of position to be able to help the players that are dropping back in the defensive line in the midfield, right? A nice one actually is a 4-1-2-2 with balance and drop back. So still a very defensive approach, but a good defensive approach that you can attack with, right? And then this is just a huge step with the ultra attacking. But again, they're just showing an example of what you could do in the game, should you choose to do that. But like we were saying, the 4-2-4. It's going to be very interesting to try out different tactics and see what works best, because this formation can definitely be a formation that's ultra attacking, right? It can be, but it looks more like an attacking formation, right? A three at the back would be the most ideal thing if you really need that last second goal. But then this formation would be good if you need a goal, but you kind of want to defend because you think you can still get that goal, but be able to defend against your opponent. The three at the back should only be switched to. In a situation where you feel like you really, really need that goal and you don't care about your defense, right? Some people actually play really well with a three at the back formation without having to switch anything. Because that default formation for them just works. They kind of outplay their opponent on the attack rather than defensive side. Because at the end of the day, when you're using a three at the back formation, you always have your wingers to be open. But if you notice that someone is very linear to playing a 4-1-2-1-2, it would actually be a very good idea to switch to a 3-5-2. So you can congest the midfield, congest the top, so that you can actually kind of commit this balance of being able to defend, but also being able to like attack them a lot, because you have the left mid and the right mid. But with the new formation, you actually have the two center mids, the CDM, and the left mid and right mid, right? So if someone's playing that 4-1-2-2 against you, you're basically kind of counteracting them too, because you have the three center backs, you have the CDM, the two center mids, like a 4-1-2-1-2, except with three center backs. And then you can also exploit their sides with the left mid and the right mid, because in a 4-1-2-2 narrow, a center mid will always have to push out wide, and once that happens, you create space for your two center mids in the middle and your CDM, right? So again, there's going to be a lot of experimenting to do, especially if the demo comes out. I hope that when FIFA releases the demo, it's going to be the same thing as PES, because PES are releasing the demo with online matchmaking. So they have an online quick match option. So they're going to have teams like France, Barcelona, I think, and then you can use those teams against other players in online quick match. So I hope EA does that for their demo, because it would be really cool to have content creators be able to do something for a large majority of the time before the new game comes out, because that wait period between the demo and the full game is always very annoying, and I really like what PES are doing with the online matchmaking thing for the demo. So but yeah, this formation is definitely going to be a really interesting one. I feel like it's actually going to work out really nicely depending on how your opponent is playing. Every formation, it's really hard to say whether or not a formation is the best formation in the game. It's all really dependent on how your opponent is playing, right? I never really feel like one formation is the full meta. Like you can do well with a 4-3-3, 4-1-2-2, 4-2-3-1, three at the back. Everyone has their own thing that makes them good, right? Some people are formation enthusiasts where it's like, this is the one formation I need to use. I don't want to switch anything. But that's kind of a flawed way of thinking, because a formation will get countered eventually if you don't switch, right? So again, the dynamic tactics is a really cool feature. So that's it for the 4-2-4. Definitely going to be a very interesting tactic to use, because it's also very nice, because if you have the offensive style to be they probably have like high pressure or something, that'll be really nice to have too. So, or constant pressure on the defensive side, because if you have constant pressure, that means that if you're using a 4-2-4, your four forwards, right, will be putting pressure on the defenders if someone's trying to waste time in their own half. But it'll also be a risk, because they could play that long ball game where someone just runs and then that high pressure is going to be countered, right? So a lot of like ifs, ands, or buts with the tactics. Really cool, actually. Excuse me. So one of the other formations that they have here is the 5-4-1. So 5-4-1 is a very interesting formation too. Very, very defensive oriented, and might not be so ideal, because you're always going to be missing that CDM presence in the middle. Always very important to have a CDM on your team, in my opinion. So the two center mids with a left mid and right mid should be a fun formation, but I feel like you'll be lacking in the attack. Because there's too much space between the strikers and the center mids. This little gap right here is a very huge gap, right? Unless you tell your player, this is going to be very defensive oriented, by the way, unless you tell your striker to play as a false nine, it'll play more like a 5-5-0, essentially, right? Like I feel like a lot of teams kind of do that. Well, Spain used to do that a lot, right? Where they use like a false nine formation. So it could be an interesting formation to try out, a fun formation to try out. It'd be interesting to see what it would be like with the five at the back, because if someone uses five at the back, you can really congest their midfield with a three at the back formation and really like congest the midfield to be able to attack against them. But again, we don't know the new instructions with the game yet, but obviously with this formation, you'd want the fullbacks to probably stay back while attacking, or you can actually tell them to always overlap, because you'll actually have a lot of width to work with if you tell your fullbacks and your left mids and right mids to push forward, but then you'll be vulnerable at the back. But I feel like depending on the work rates that you have, let's just say, for instance, you had a fullback that was like high work rates, right? It would actually be really cool because they would kind of drop back, right? But also play to the instructions that you want him to play, right? So again, going to be very interesting to see what it plays like. Again, this formation is going to be really cool. A very nice formation that they added to the game. For a 3-1-4-2. It just seems like my type of formation, because a lot of the reasons I don't like using the three at the backs right now is because they don't have good CDM formations, in my opinion. I'm not sure if they have the 3-1-4-2 in the game right now, so I think this is actually a new formation, right? So I think they may have this in head to head, but I could be wrong. And then here's another one. So the 4-4-1-1, right? So here's the thing, right? Some people, when they see these formations, they see that, okay, this is not really a new formation because instead of a center forward, it's a cam. But the thing is, though, right, is that a cam is less attacking than a center forward. A center forward will play like a striker, but he'll kind of play like a false nine role in the team, right? So he won't really play like a cam. He'll kind of be positioned like a cam, but he won't play like a cam, right? Again, another very interesting formation because there's more of a balance in this formation, right? Now you have the cam so that you can support the center mids, and then you can also support the left mids and right mids to be able to make those passes to the sides. And your cam is not so pushed forward that you can't really get the ball to him to lay it off to the sides. Because again, your center forward will be playing more like a false nine more than anything, right? Because especially if you tell him, because the center forward, I believe you can tell to get in behind and press the back line. I could be wrong in saying that. I'm actually going to check right now on the regular version of FIFA. What's a formation that has I think the 4-3-3 false nine, which would be would be this one right here. So if we check out the instructions for that position, so we have so he actually has getting behind and press the back line as well, right? So he basically has the tactics of a striker, but a cam will have different tactics, right? Because a cam, you can tell them to stay on the edge of the box. You can tell them to free roam. So in this formation right here, right? If you want to tell this cam to free roam, you can do that. You can also tell a striker to do that, but it's the way that it works with a striker and a cam would be completely different, right? So another very cool concept. Again, we're going to be looking at the tactics of the game. So there's long ball, drop back, possession, drop back, balance, drop back, fast build up, constant pressure. So fast build up will be very nice if you notice that someone is really committing on that attack and you feel like you're a good enough defender where you can kind of absorb that pressure, and then once you get that ball you can instantly attack against them, right? Because you have constant pressure and fast build up. If you have the defensive style of constant pressure, it's going to be interesting because you actually have to be a good defender if you use constant pressure, because your AI will be doing that for you. But what happens is if your AI is the one that decides to push against somebody, that means that they leave space at the back vulnerable, right? So depending on your play style, this could be a really good thing or a really bad thing. It's a very good thing if someone is trying to waste time, because now there's a way to actually counter it by using a three at the back formation, or the new 4-2-4 where the four forwards are up there to put the pressures on the defenders and stuff like that. So again, going to be very interesting. I'm going to experiment this with this a lot when the game comes out. When the demo comes out especially, that's when I'm going to be looking at it, right? So the cool thing about the demo is that I play it religiously because it's never how it is in the full game, but it gives you kind of like a feel of what the game is going to be like when it fully releases, right? So it's really important to play the demo to get a feel. Like my finishing was very good when FIFA 18 first came out, because I played on a beginner difficulty to kind of understand what the game wants you to do in finishing, because it's never really, FIFA is never really authentic in the way that you want to play in finishing. Like if it makes sense to finesse shots, sometimes in the game itself it doesn't make sense. Like it's either driven shots or you have to finish a certain way to score certain goals, so it's always very different, right? So playing the demo is going to be really helpful to understand exactly what types of tactics you want to use, especially again if they add that online quick match feature, so you can actually try it against people who are playing online. So that'll be very helpful, right? that's pretty much going to conclude the video for today, guys. I don't think there's much else to talk about. I feel like I can really go in depth with all this stuff, but I feel like I don't want to do that because I want to play the game first to kind of see exactly what I'm going to be lining my teams up with. I kind of have like a general idea of what I want to be doing when the game comes out, because in FIFA 18, I already know what the 5 or 6 formations I want to use when someone's playing a certain way. Because the thing about FIFA, right, is that sometimes you could be losing 2-0 and you feel like you're getting dominated. But if you know that you're a good player, all it really takes is a formation change. That's why drafts are tough sometimes, because if you play a draft and you're using like a 4-2-3-1, but you notice that you can really exploit the dude's middle and just make some passing plays around that general area, have 2 strikers instead of 1 because the 1 is isolated, stuff like that, right? Is going to be very important to be able to counter your opponent. This kind of actually adds a skill gap to the game now, because you don't have to pause anymore to switch, right? If someone is countering what you're doing and you notice, hey, he's attacking my sides really nicely right now, I should use a formation where my left mid and right mid come back so that he can't attack the sides as much. And then if he switches, you switch as well to see, oh, he's overcommitting in the middle, so maybe I should use that new 3 at the back formation, where I can have the 3 center backs, the CDM, the 2 center mids, to counter what he's doing, playing thoroughly in the middle, because his fullbacks are not attacking, his fullbacks are staying back. So I might as well overcommit with the 3-5-2 and try to catch him on the attack with the left mid and right mid. So there's going to be a lot of experimenting to do. I'm not sure if the chemistry style is going to work the same way, because as you guys know in FIFA right now, it's always really good to make a team where you can kind of switch players to whatever formation you want, right? So when I made teams like the how to make the best meta teams that are also fun players to use, you'll notice that when I make the teams, I can switch to whatever formation I want during the game, and the players will be fine. So I think they might actually keep the chemistry system very similar, just so that people can be able to do stuff like that. So that is going to conclude the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this concept video of like kind of like picking at my brain and what I have an idea of doing when I get the full game. But I had fun doing this. It was a lot of fun. But if you guys did enjoy it, please drop a thumbs up on it. Definitely helps all the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.